I'm really excited to have you all on board and very warm welcome for one and all who has joined us today for this amazing webinar that we are going to conduct around how product experiences can drive product-led growth. Uh, Today, I would be joined by our fellow panelists, Mithil Ajmera, Pragyan, and Elise, and they would be primarily helping us how they have adopted these strategies at scale in their organization. So we will be. So before I start, let me talk about what we do. Okay, so the this particular webinar is powered by Netcore, which is a Martech company. It's a global Martech company, which powers a lot of things, which is around predictive segments, insights, which is related to machine learning, and deploying amazing customer experiences for the brand. Um, just let me start with this screen. Okay. Um, our panelists, if I have to talk about, so we have Mithil Ajmera, who is the CMO at denewhomes.com, and he's an e-commerce expert, and he has been a digital consultant and a Martech advisor. He has his own venture long back, betterher.com. So he has that wide experience in this vertical all this while, and I think those learnings are going to be super useful as Mithil will join us later in the later half of our session and share his learnings. Second, we have Pragyan, who heads engineering and product at Styly Landmark Group. Styly, which is an e-commerce brand, it's a app-first company, and I call her the best blend of engineering, product, and who also understands marketing really well. She has adopted PLG as a strategy at scale. Okay, and those are the insights that she's going to today talk about. So I'm really excited to have her on board today. Finally, we have Eileen. She's from Kenya and she's part of HF Group. She heads product and customer value management. HF Group as a company, it's a housing finance group, and they're going through that massive transformation from being a housing finance brand to more of a banking space. And Eileen is that one person who's driving that change. So very excited to have these panelists on board with us today. And the today's session is divided into two parts. So part one is where we will be talking about how these amazing product experiences can derive these amazing product-led growth in your organization. What are those type of examples and deployment that we have seen across the globe? Okay, so we'll talk about that. And then in the second half, we will be joined by our amazing panelists, where we are going to have a fireside chat, and we will be talking about a lot of ideas, thoughts, and those amazing best practices around how these product experiences can be adopted. We will be talking about that in detail. Talking about myself, I've not spoken about myself. So my name is Mayank, and I head the international markets for growth and product sales. And I have been engaging with a lot of brands. Some of them are also our speakers today, and would be your host for the day today. All right. So getting started today, how amazing product experiences. So see, product-led growth. What is it all about? Okay, it's in the line. It says product-led growth. Any product which leads a growth for a brand it is all about that. Okay, and how interestingly we could be deploying certain experiences for brands in the forte that we can is what the product-led growth would be talking about. So before we move ahead, let me have a quick poll of audience that we have today. So are you guys, which space do you belong to? Are you from B2B space or a B2C space? So let's have a quick 5 to 10 seconds poll to understand that. Okay, I have the result coming in. All right, now I'm ending the poll. Okay, as I expected, it's quite a mixed blend. We have a B2B and a B2C space. It's almost 50% split. We are now going to first, compare PLG with our traditional SLG and MLG, which is sales-led growth and a marketing-led growth. It's about, when you enter a mall, okay, and how the sales guy treats you, how the sales guy would push you for a product is where the traditional way has been. And product-led growth, I will not say that it was not traditional. It was always been there. For example, if you go and if you buy a car, okay, you will have to first drive the car to really experience it. Or let's say if you are buying a fragrance, okay, you will have to first experience it. You'll have to smell it and understand, okay, this is what I like. So it has always been there, but it is about making it very evident for our growth strategy. And this all comes with the fact that marketing budgets are very very limited and growth is on everyone's mind. How do we ensure that product is in the center of our game and we are delivering those maximum experiences for our users? So it can be the main channel driver, be it your acquisition or retention or any of the engagement module that we intend to define as our KPI. So it's all about offering these great product experiences and having that existent all across our strategy. So brands who have done this, I mean, and I think some of them are advocates, be it like Airtable or a Figma or a Slack or a HubSpot or a Zoom, Pinterest, Netflix, Dropbox. They have, what is that one thing which is like really common about these products? And I'm sure that, some of it you would have already experienced, at least Zoom, right? We are on Zoom right now. Why are we having these webinars on Zoom? Earlier, we used to have it somewhere else. Prior to it, there was something else. And, in our day-to-day calling activities to my friends and families, we used to use Skype. But then Zoom has like really taken the market by surprise. And that's only and only because product, the kind of experience, that aha moment that they've provided us. So it has been the driver of growth from the point when the user is on board and we are having that acquisition strategy, from the expansion to the retention. Product and the levers around product has been the a key growth metric. And it is about providing that aha moment. Again, I'm reiterating the same point, but then it's about how amazingly when we experience that product and we see that, wow, what, this is the feature I was looking for. This seems pretty smooth and I would like to avail this again and again. The first time I experienced Uber while traveling from an next place to the other place. I had to otherwise go out, shout on the street, hey cab, come here, we'll have to travel somewhere. But then now it's all about the app, and then I could travel easily. Then there were more competition to it, and I realized there are more such features which can be adopted. And so it's not a stage as product led growth. It is continuous expansion, and that's the methodology, that's the mindset that the marketer would have over the course. And if they have that methodology and that mindset, this will be a viral loop. Brands will see that the customers who have come on board, they will be the ones who would be suggesting people like what should be, why they should go for this brand. You don't have to be your own advocate; they will be your advocates. And again, coming in the center of it, and we all know that data is one of the key growth levers when it comes to, or customer being in the center is one of the key growth levers. And what we intend to what we should understand from this is, what is that perceived value which is being provided through our marketing campaigns, through a lot of our initiative, to that experienced to that experienced value. So if you are a perceived value and our experienced value, and there we don't see much of a value gap or no value gap, is where these customer insights would be super useful. And finally, it's all about testing, right? So marketers, I think the biggest KPI they would have, or a growth guy, the biggest KPI he would have is to keep testing, keep learning, keep adapting, keep seeing what are those movements where they could improve the experience for the user. And that can only happen if, let's say, on a week on week basis, they have this one thing that they want to experiment this week and that they want to adopt. So it's all about experiences. It's all about how at multiple stages we can deploy this. So let's talk about those stages now. To start with, it's all about new user acquisition from the top, right? So we spend a lot of money on our activities, which through which we get a lot of our users coming in the funnel. And as soon as they come, what is that first experience that we would like to provide? There is this old saying which says that first impression is the last impression. While somewhere it matters a lot, because I have a stat after this which will somewhere will be related to this. It says that how the amazing first impression will be one of the lasting impression that the person would have. So that's where we need to ensure how those onboarding experiences can be managed, and what is the important activation metric as a brand that we would like to manage. So for a OTT brand, it could be that freemium functionality if it is getting activated. For a e-wallet, it can be of money getting added to the cart, and that's where you will see the engagement coming in. And then that regular engagement has to be defined separately for the new user who has come on board versus the existing user. Because for the new user, it could be about how the breadth of the engagement can be improved versus an existing user about how depth can be improved of the same of the multiple features that they would have explored already. And then finally, all of this would lead to retention. And how this retention will happen, this is through loyal customers. So the whole idea is that we build a set of loyal customers through this strategy, so that they are retained not just on day 7 but on day 30, day 60, day 90, and so on. And finally, once we have a good set of loyal customers, they we get the best of referrals. We went and they get us more people on board with us. That can be the best of experience that can be provided by us. All right. So before we discuss this, another quick poll that we would like to have here, and this is on what are your key challenges that you would like to address for your brand. So is it like user retention or a funnel drop off, or is it activation for you, or is it like feature adoption? What do you see as one of the key metric that you would like to monitor at your end? So I would like what I'll do is I'll just end the poll now, and let me share the results as well on the screen. You will see that maximum people have gone for a retention or an activation or a feature adoption. So this was somewhere a trick question, guys. So if you look at all of these are related. Retention is equal to some bit of activation, some bit of feature adoption, or a funnel drop off. How you can address that? So all of these are quite interlinked, but activation seems to be one of the important goals. And I think this makes us come to this slide, which is a AppsFlyer study, where what it says is that be it an organic traffic or a non-organic traffic, on day 7 or a day 30 or a week 12, what is the kind of retention that we are seeing? Okay, and here primarily what you will see that on day 7, okay, there has been that maximum drop, be it an organic or be it a non-organic. And this makes us understand how important it is for us to have that best of activation, have that best of onboarding experience provided to the user, because so much effort are being put up to get a user on board, and day 1 we have some users, but then on day 7 there's a maximum drop. And I think this is what in our coming slides we will be touching upon in detail. So let's get started with product-led onboarding. Let's talk about activation. Activation is, let's say, has been our poll result as well. Maximum people have been asking for this. Let's talk about activation. All right. So activation, one is we have to define what is activation for us as a brand. For a OTT brand, it could be about adoption of that freemium offerings that they are providing, or maybe for a e-wallet, it could be adding money to the wallet, could be activation. Or maybe for an e-commerce brand, it could be add to cart, or could be a first-time conversion that they're getting. So we need to first define what is activation, and it is that aha moment that we are providing. It's about you are going on a blind date for the very first time, okay? And what do you define as activation on that blind date that you go? You want a second date from that person. It's not about immediately saying, "Hey, would you like to marry me?" No, it is about we want that second date coming, and it's that micro yes that finally will take you to that final intent, which is that macro yes that you will get from that person. So it's about those experiences that you provide. And let's talk about how brands have adopted this. To start with, this first example is about Instagram. And Instagram, it's a very smart platform. They cleverly have deployed a lot of these nudges. To start with, you will see that when you download the app, they say that, hey, would you like to sync your Facebook account to make it easier so that all your friends are already sorted on Instagram? It's there. Now it says that, hey, why don't you scroll and see what your friends are doing? Check out their photos and videos. Okay. And in the second screen, what they're saying is that, hey, you can also you can post your own photos. Those are temporary ones via stories that you can add on the top. or maybe it could be the photos and videos that you can add, and you can feed it by that center button. So all of these options, despite of the app being having so many features, it is ensuring that those features are shown to the user at the right moment. Okay, because it is about first you exploring the app, checking out photos of your friends, and then once done, you would also want to be the person who would want to post photos and videos of your own, and that's where they highlight those added features. Next example on the very right hand side is about a ride hailing app. Okay, and what they have done is they are not being pushy here. Very subtly, they are saying that add a credit or a debit card to enjoy safe and hassle-free cashless booking. So a person is trying to book a cab, and they are also trying to give a value proposition saying that, hey, we could also make your transaction of this ride completely cashless, and that is where you could go ahead with a addition of this. Now this is very subtle and at the right moment. So this is about providing the right proposition at the right time, which becomes also one of the key metrics. And once activation is clear, okay, I have finally onboarded my customer with us, and they are happy, they are using it. Is the game doesn't stop there. Okay, we'll have to continuously keep engaging them time to time to ensure that there is meaningful actions happening. Okay, and that's where what we do is we have certain defined engagement framework. This is something that we have thought of, and we thought maybe we will put it across to you so that somewhere around these lines we can have our engagement frameworks defined. First is about breadth of the engagement. It is about how we can guide users to adopt new features and existing features. So especially for the newer users who have just got onboarded, let's take the fintech example again, the e-wallet, right? So you download an e-wallet app and you're using that e-wallet app for a transaction and sending money to your friends. Can it also talk about other features which are there, which could be a bill pay, okay, or which could be about certain insurance functionalities, or could be about certain added features which are to do with certain different kinds of money transfer, maybe to different countries and all. So that's the breadth of engagement, how you can make your user adopt the other new and existing feature. Second is about depth of the engagement. Taking the same e-wallet example, okay, the same transaction can be done by a various method. It could be like a simple UPI transaction, or it could be like a NEFT or a RTGS, something that could be defined under that. And more examples to it could be, let's say, in case of an e-commerce scenario, if let's say there is a product which is added to the cart, can a nudge help a brand recommend more products? Okay, can there be recommended? I have few products already added to the cart, which is a nice t-shirt. Can it recommend nice trousers or maybe nice jeans along with it? Okay, which goes really well. Or maybe you would have already experienced in case of YouTube, since you guys use YouTube, and most of our audience, I think, would have used YouTube at scale, where when you are at the end of the video, when you're about to just end the video, is where they recommend you that this is the next video that you should watch. How subtly, how smartly they put that, right? So that's the depth of that engagement that they provide. And finally, the frequency of engagement. Okay, one is putting it at the right moment, so that those recommendations, again taking that YouTube example, if those recommendations are coming somewhere in the between or at the start, might not give that value. So that timing is very important. It is coming at the end. And if let's say the user moves out, okay, it may also inform and say that, hey, would you like to press the bell icon so as to stay updated with the recently viewed watch that you did. Or maybe if the user logs off, then via various channels you could nudge them and make them come back. So those frequency has to be something where you need to make a very smart blend, where you are not doing an overkill of lot of these communications, but also ensuring meaningful actions and communications are also being put across. All right, so this is about engagement, and I would like to talk about this interesting example about MPL, which is one of the fantasy gaming app from India, and they have deployed this very interestingly. So what they do is they have a specific user segment who are very, very loyal to MPL, and whenever they do a launch of any of the new game on MPL app, they have this nudge which says that, did you try this new game? This is only and only to those loyal customers, and based on the experiences and based on the feedback given by them, then they do a launch to the larger audience, which says, enjoy the new game which is there. And I think this has been a quite a smart strategy by a lot of the gaming and fantasy gaming apps. What more interestingly NPL does is, let's say if I'm accessing the app from India, and as we know, India is a cricket loving country, and some of our African countries, let's say if I talk about South Africa or let's say Kenya, people do love cricket. So some of those cricket first countries, if we access NPL as an app, we see that everything is around cricket. But then let's say if we access this from other countries, from countries which are not very cricket first countries, that's where we see football being at the center of it, and a lot of those games which are those hero games that they would like to highlight is around football. So that's how they smartly align their product experience as far as those engagements are concerned. More examples. So this is again on Facebook, okay, the parent company for Instagram, and what they have adopted is they have this video watch as a feature, and when you are going through their when you're going through your timeline or maybe any specific page, is where they certainly tells you that, hey, get to watch faster, and this is where you can click and start watching Facebook videos. This is ensuring more and more people are getting with the Facebook app. Okay, that's where they certainly talk about this functionality. This is another interesting feature. This talks about depth of engagement. Until now, I've been talking about breadth of engagement. This is depth of engagement, wherein Calm. This is a app which helps which helps users practice mindfulness on a daily basis, or meditation and lot of other enhancements which are more to do with mental health. And they have this one feature which they had added, which is on you could set a reminder which would remind you when you want to meditate. Okay, and that's where this will come in at the right time when you had set it. For example, 9:39 a.m. and you will get a intimation about this. Now the hypothesis says that nudging user set on a daily what they have figured out with this is that nudging users to set daily reminders has got them increase in those retention rates. And this was an experiment again with a controlled release to a certain set of users that they had tried, but then they found quite a good adoption and quite a good retention through this function that they had added. And finally, they see like a 3x increase in complete retention rate. So that's the kind of product experiences that were added in lot of examples that I showed. Now the final part is virality. Okay, referrals. How do we make the best use of that? So in our previous slides, we had been talking about how the virality has been important. Okay, how word of mouth can play a key role, but how effectively can we use it is another point, right? How we can have one of the key metric to track under our growth strategy. Can it be referrals? Okay, and how interestingly some of these brands are using it. For example, Airbnb. Airbnb, as on today, once you have an experience with Airbnb app and you book a place and you have already done it, they also give you this intimation saying that would you like to now invite your friends. But here again, there are a lot level of iterations that they have done. They have done maximum experimentation to ensure that the landing page is also getting customized to the extent where they personalize the name and amount and lot other things. So this has come with multiple testing, various color combination that they've tried out, and finally referral program for Airbnb is pretty famous out of lot of referral programs that are running out in the market right now. What do we do? Okay, so we have been talking about product experiences and how that has been enhancing product experience for a lot of product-led growth for a lot of brands. Okay, what we do here is basically we provide a platform which is basically ensuring agility is coming to product and growth teams. Okay, these are the catalysts. These nudges are catalysts to that product-led growth mindset that a lot of these marketers can adopt. Okay, and that's where to start with there are these features. First of all, there is a contextual walkthroughs and nudges, which can be adopted at any stage. It could be on onboarding or an activation or a feature discovery, be it segmented or a personalized approach. I mean, we have got various variants on contextual nudges that can be deployed and very smartly deployed. That is where you could do mass experimentation and optimization and define how the UI UX can be customized based on different type of behavior and different type of users who are coming on board on on any of the platforms of the product. Finally, we also help you get qualitative inputs through our feedbacks and surveys and understanding the why. Okay, so one is there could be NPS scorings or MCQs, but then getting the right feedback at the right moment. Let's say for an e-commerce brand, when the first time I do a transaction, can there be a rating? And if the rating is bad, can I get uh, a feedback from the user that what has gone wrong in his experience, and iterate and test and change those experiences that were bad for the user. And feature releases. I mean, many of our, especially in the app scenario, there are a lot of these feature releases that we keep doing. And how do we ensure that we are doing a very smarter release to a very controlled set of users and testing it to as we increase our control group and iterate and change and do it. So that's where we have this feature management functionality, which can help you. One is rollback, and one is those iterations that can be done as you go about deploying a new functionality inside the app. This is a quick video of how the platform looks. And if you look at, this is a complete no-code platform. We ensure that, like I said, this is for product and growth users, and that's where we need to ensure that this is a complete no-code platform. And that's where you get this canvas where you define the audience or a segment of users where you want to reach out to, define our rollout strategy, and then after that defining the nudge. What is that nudge that we wish to deploy? And that's where we have got a big repository of different type of nudges based on the type of intensity we wish to define. And even the deployment is pretty easy. I mean, you could just simply mirror your test app, your brand app, and you will see that you are able to download the complete view hierarchy of that page. Like all the elements, everything gets mirrored on our screen. And based on that, on our scroll activity, you will see that those subtle UI elements are getting highlighted where you can place your nudge. And then based on your brand guidelines, you can then color it, define more customization based on defining if you want to put a backdrop or maybe define the intensity around it, and also doing those textual changes. Now this is very important, guys. So if, let's say, if you get a nudge which says hi Mayank, or a hi Mithil, or a hi Pragyan, or a hi Ellie, that's where it gets really excited. Okay. And we help you do that. It's not just first name, but it could be any attribute or event information based on which you could customize this. And a lot more features around the CTA button and how we can interestingly redirect user, and editing around that as well, like how the button should look like. So complete UI UX and agility the marketer gets on this front. So that's how easy it is to deploy it. I mean, once it's done, it's just about testing it and reiterating it based on how the setup has been. And even the testing is pretty easy. You could just test it, and like you see, there is a screen right now mirrored, and we go to a specific page, and then there you go, the notification is out. And if you like it, press the bell icon. If you don't like it, reiterate, keep changing. So that's the testing module that you have. And this is on the deployment part, but then after that you could keep reiterating this function. There are brands who have been trusting us across the globe. These are some of the key logos that we have from Middle East and Africa who are using us, and especially for our customer engagement and experience related modules. And now we come to the end of our first half of our discussion. And a quick poll again that I would like to talk about. So would you like to see the Netco's no-code product that we had just shown you? So would you like to see that? This is a quick poll that I would like to check if you guys can would like to get a vote. And I'm getting some interesting votes. I'm seeing a lot of people showing their interest in that. So happy to get that. So I'll end the poll, and I think I'll move on to the last part of our discussion, which is on panelists. So we have Mithil, Pragyan, Ellie waiting patiently for our fireside chat. There are a lot of interesting questions that I want to ask them. So I'll stop sharing my screen so that I can have Pragyan, Nikhil, Eileen, come on the screen and say hi to our audience. Okay, I'll just 1 second. I'll just stop the poll. Okay. Hi guys. Pragyan, Mithil, Eileen. All right. So before we start, maybe a quick round of introduction. While I've done that, but maybe from your own words, if you would like to just maybe introduce yourself. Maybe we'll start with you, Mithil.
Sure. So guys, first of all, thanks for having me on board on this wonderful webinar. I'm currently working with Danube Home. I lead their marketing for the e-commerce business. Been looking at customer acquisition, platform enhancement, marketing technology, etc. here. Before this, I have had my own venture. This was again a home interiors venture in the e-commerce space back in India, went by the name Better Ghar. And I also worked with Future Group in their general insurance space, and I was managing their digital and partnerships as well. Here to share my thoughts on nudges, on retention, on churns, and a lot more things. So excited.
Thank you so much, Mithil. Pragyan?
Yeah, sure. So, hey guys, I work with a brand called Styling under the Landmark Group. We are a primarily app-first e-commerce brand. We created in the year 2019, and because we've been app-first, this has been one of the key pillars of our success story. And I come from an e-commerce background, have been into media streaming as well. Uh, Early career has been with the large e-commerce giants like Target and Walmart, but yeah, these days I've been for last 5-6 years I've been spending a lot with the startups because I get to learn a lot with them. There's a lot to experiment, keep baby, and keep testing what works best with the customers, I think, and that's the part that I enjoy most. So
Awesome.
yeah, happy to share some of the experiences that I've learned.
Startup stories already here to present, right? Eileen, over to you. A quick round of introduction from your side as well.
Right. Hi, guys. I'm Eileen from Kenya. I work in HF Group. It's a bank. So currently in a transformation. My background is a career banker, dealing with a lot of data, a lot of products, driving customer value management, customer lifecycle management. That is what excites me. So happy to be here.
So Eileen, let's hear from that excitement. Could you? So let's start with my first question. So how is PLG as a concept helping you ace as one of the important metric in your day-to-day function? Would you like to talk about that, Eileen?
Yeah. PLG is very important. Actually, you'll find once you develop the customer value proposition and you understand what your product is supposed to deliver and push it to your customers, then the value comes in. So what we've been doing is basically on the new product, we've been trying to push that to the customers, adding value, and then the value is actually organic around the product. So it's not more of a push approach in terms of sales, it's about enhancing that value from the customers who are consuming the product, largely driven by just the right CVP.
Super.
So personally, that's my experience around PLG, but I believe that's the way to go. It's not more of the sales approach where you push many products, take a product and then organically grow it.
Exactly. And I think advocacy becomes really important in that, right? So once that experience is provided to the user, then what you get is that organic growth enhances after that immediately. Mithil, what is your say on this?
So I think the biggest change or shift that organizations have seen after they've embraced PLG is a focus on that single most strongest value proposition, which is their product. I think organizations and companies have been forever looking for employees that could fit into cross-functional roles. And now PLG sort of forced them into hiring marketing guys who can talk tech, and tech guys who can talk operations, and marketing which can also talk customer service. So I think that is what has shifted these days with the PLG coming to the fore. Where all the teams sort of sit together deciding on every product feature. It is not that the product features would only come through tech or would only come through the product team. It even comes to the contact center, the customer service, and the marketing team. So at Danube Home, whenever we are sort of figuring out the right approach, the right features, as marketing, we think about how is it that this particular product feature would help us generate a demand flywheel, where the sales guys or the contact center guys would think of how is it that we can improvise conversions of a particular lead, and customer service would think about how we can improve the NPS score, so on and so forth, right? So how we've benefited through this is we've seen significantly shorter sales cycles. Customer acquisition costs have reduced. There has been a higher revenue per employee as well, and this has really helped us identify some of the key metrics with respect to PLG. And we focus primarily on churn, and the KPI is to reduce churn as much as possible. And churn, of course, would take us to retention and RFM as well. So with respect to churn, we are focusing on a well-built rope approach, and I think we were also discussing this with Rajesh in one of his sessions. So we're trying to launch something called as the Danube Red VIP program, which is in line with some of the Prime or VIP programs that you see in the region. But apart from free deliveries, we're also offering 48-hour guaranteed delivery, easy access to all the VIP or campaign sales, additional 5% discount on every product or every order placed. We've also launched a home services verticals. We are offering discounted rates on the home services vertical, no questions asked, return policy, 24-hour query resolution, a bunch of benefits that we're giving, which will help us reduce the churn. With respect to retention as well as referrals, we are currently offering multiple benefits to customers, both referees as well as referrers. Any referrer, any referee joining via the referral module gets 50 dirhams off on the next purchase, and so it's basically incentivizing both of them to get on the platform and completing the purchase. And RFM is also something we've been monitoring, and we're trying to increase that 3x3x2 RFM to about 3x4x3, and that is the next step. And the utopian scenario would be a 5x5x5. So yeah, I think the single most important thing that it has done is getting all the teams together to focus on the product features and getting them to getting their inputs in terms of how you can improve the product as a whole.
So Mithil, I think interestingly there are two parts. So one is, on your app I experienced this 5% off immediately nudge which comes in when we download the app. I think that's where it connects what you are trying to act as a growth lever for a first-time user who is coming on board.
Correct. Yes.
Does it also vary when that's an existing user coming on the Danube Home app? Let's say the third time or the second time. Does it vary if you know that the user is existing?
Yes. So now we are trying to normalize it, but for the new users, it was not 5%. It was additionally 200 dirhams off, and that was an absolute value that we were providing. And for registered users, we were giving again additionally 5% off, but we had a minimum order value cap. But then if you place the order to retain, we also give out some vouchers. So as soon as you place an order with us, you'll get a new voucher for the next purchase, which will be valid for the next 3 purchases. So trying to incentivize as much as possible, because customers need to see the value in the product that they buy initially, and then we are sure that they would stick with us for as long as possible.
So one more interesting thing that you highlighted, and Pragyan, this is a question for you from what I get from Mithil's insight. He spoke of a blend of people that we are right now trying to hire, which is a mix of a person who can understand tech and the marketing side of it. We generally call it MarTech, and Mithil is one of those MarTech advisors, right? And you are also one of the MarTech advisors. You understand product well, engineering well, and I don't know. I always thought that you are from the marketing side of it because you talk that language quite well. So one is, I would want to understand what does it take to identify the right matrix in your in the forte of being in that role, okay? And second is, in your organization, what all things you would have deployed, and what are your thoughts and ideas around how interestingly we can do in a scenario where a brand is e-commerce first.
Yeah.
First. Yeah.
So maybe I can give a flashback of certain use cases, right, that we learned along,
Yeah.
right? So when we started purely as an app and the M site, but over a period of time, we collected some data in terms of our users' behavior, right? So when we started, we were primarily into women's segment. Then we eventually also realized that there is a TG of men who's also coming in shopping with us. So what we did is we actually added a journey on the onboarding, saying that tell us so that we can find the context and the landing for you for your subsequent visits. So when we initially launched, we were landing everyone to women. But when we gathered the data and we learned from it, then we realized that the user is either a man or a woman, and we started giving them contextual landing not only for the homepage but also for the search results. So that's where the contextual tweaking helped us a lot in terms of elevating the share of the men and women business. So this is one small example, and over the last couple of years, we've been heavily dependent on these data touch points. So we do have a full blown Martech team, an analytics team who crunches all these numbers, and basis that we derive a roadmap. So as Mithil very rightly said, now every individual in cross functions has to wear that Martech hat. Everyone is crunching the data, and inputs are coming across from all functions to execute. So this is one very small example. Then there are referrals that we changed. We off recently, I would say that when we launched the referrals program, we actually did a A/B. So we started with the install based referral first. So then our revenue teams and counter functions, they came back and said maybe this would work better with order based referrals. So we did a A/B, and we realized that the install one works better. So these kind of product led decisions have really helped us because doing consistent A/B kinds of guides you through a north star of achieving a metric. So
And how
yeah.
often do you experiment, Pragya? Let's say, because that was one of my take. I believe that marketers should experiment on a weekly basis. I know Mithil, Ellie, you guys are the best champions to, put some advocacy on it. But then, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think every release that we send in 2 weeks, we put certain elements to A/B. I mean, whether it's search, whether it's my product details, whether the positioning of my delivery strip has to be like just below the product image or after 2, 3 widgets, we keep doing A/B. So it's a regular part of the product team. Yeah. And backing up that hypothesis comes from all our analytics data.
So coming to that analytics question, Eileen, maybe you could help us with this. Could you tell us how have you been able to utilize data-driven user insights and analytics around user behavior to solve use cases around engagement and retention? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, as we speak, actually, we use a lot of that. So you'll find once we do our RFM models, we're actually able to guide usage in terms of what cohorts do we engage, what do we tell them, and then of course what we will measure is the revenue per customer. Has it grown in those cohorts? Has the frequency increased? The monetary value. So I would say data is everything. Data is key. If you don't use data, then you will not achieve PLG. So it's a key thing that we've been using, and we actually embedding it in terms of refreshing the models and trying to see which cohorts are not responding and why not. So you'll find as far as the customer analysis goes, this is divided up to in terms of what age brackets are these people, what was their first product, and what would be their next best product, so that you are just able to get that discussion. So data is everything.
Yeah.
So it's a key part of PLG.
And as far as those recommendations are concerned, I would move this question to Mithil. A lot of those recommendations we have spoken about, and we have done it at Danube Homes. How that is helping, how when a person is actually coming to your website or the app, and they are looking out for furniture, right? How recommendations are very important in such a niche segment. I mean, in case of a pure short e-commerce brand, okay, which has got variety of products, there are a lot of options that the machine learning can give out as an option. But what do you see as an output of some of these machine learning being deployed in your scenario?
So customers usually visit a brand from multiple channels, right? And the cost of acquisition is increased incredibly these days. So you would be found on, say, a Google platform. Customer would go through your Insta, they would go through your Facebook, and they will take that decision after going through multiple iterations of what your brand is, what it stands for, how your products are, what is the quality, etc., etc. So in this case, you cannot be only product selling, and it has to be a concept selling module or a mandate that brands will need to follow. With respect to Danube Home, initially we did not really have an interesting recommendation module. So sometimes when looking for furniture, you would also see hand tools and power tools in place as a recommended product, which would never go together. So we spent hours and hours together in finding out what are the right product combinations that would go in terms of not only upselling, cross-selling, but just a nicer customer experience, because someone who's looking for a sofa, right, would also be looking for a center table or a side table or a table lamp or a floor lamp to go with, and in fact even carpets. So there are multiple categories. Number one, which we could identify would cross sell, would go with that concept. And after that, we did a deeper analysis with respect to what would be the price points that the customer is looking for. So if someone's looking for a 1500 dirham sofa, I'm sure that he's not going to buy a 5000 dirham carpet, right? So we bucketed the customers with respect to location, we bucketed customers with respect to price points, we bucketed the customers with respect to frequency of purchase, which would also determine whether the customer would buy a high ticket product from us or would stick to a lower ticket, because the customer is probably a little new to our engines. And that is why I think, and we also launched something called as a personal boutique for solicited boutique for you, wherein we shortlisted products that we found were fit for that particular customer. And I keep saying this, people are bored of looking at blogs which would say that people who bought this also bought that. For me, that's not a personalized experience. That is just when you've entered a bunch of data in your statistical algorithms and come out with some random things. I want a very, very personalized approach and concept that could be fired at me, right? So that is why we launched something called as a personal boutique. And however, there are some amendments which it is also going through right now, and it's not again, we've taken it down, we'll make it live again. But that's a kind of approach we need to have when we are talking about product led growth and recommendations, and upselling and personal boutiques.
Interesting. I mean, I was part of that journey, so I totally understand.
Yes, you were.
The kind of iteration we kept on doing, and that personal boutique definitely helped gain us that kind of traction.
If you see the number of clicks and conversions we got through, that was massive. And of course, we thought that this could be much better. That's why we've taken it off. But you have to sort of anticipate where the customer is spending the most time, how much time customer is taking, to find the right product. If you can reduce that time in itself, you'll see massive increase in the conversion. Every 1 second delay leads to 25% revenue loss for an e-commerce business, right? So if you and that's why Amazon is more famous, because of its product discovery and the convenience with which people can buy. So if you can show the right product to the customer, there's nothing like it.
Correct. Makes sense. Before I move on to the next question, just want to call it out that we are open to questions. So audience, if you have some interesting questions for our panelists, so definitely please push it across on the chat and we'll take it up. Pragyan, I would like to ask you something around, you spoke of activation, right? So if first time, if I come on the app, you ask for, are you a male or a female, which country, which language you belong to? And those are interesting data points that you collect immediately to customize the first time experience of the user. Okay, now I am on the app, I am on the homepage. What do you do next as far as engagement is concerned? What are your growth levers there?
So in terms of engagement, so what we do basically is for a very first time user, I think the first entry point is if he's come through a referral, then we've got a kitty wallet. So we kind of nudge the user after a longer period of session to utilize it, because it also comes with expiry. But another thing that we do with reactivated customers is, because we've got a data on their browsing behavior, right? We've got a data on their purchase behavior. So what we intend to do is any listing that they go to or any recommendation widgets that they see, we kind of work towards personalizing it in terms of what is it that the user has purchased in past. Say suppose someone has purchased dresses or say shoes, something that next time would go along with it. So we kind of nudge these kind of products, similar to what Mithil was saying in terms of personalizing, but not it's not hyper personalization, but still nudging towards the nearest product match that the customer can buy. And then we also look at the favorites of the customers, and if there is a product that's probably running low on stock, or if there is a very good exciting discount coming up, so then we nudge the customer to basically go and discover that product more and be able to add to the cart. So and then there are other elements around delivery nudges, that if you are coming from bigger cities, we clearly call out that how long will it take you to get this product at your doorstep. So these are the small engagement nudges that we keep adding. Then we also intend to do a social proofing, which we haven't done yet, but we'll be bringing that up soon, which is around trying and understanding our segments taste much better, I would say. So social proofing around what is it trending, which product they feel it's hot, it's something where we can gather a lot of like or thumbs up numbers, and then our buying decisions can also be derived out of that. So yeah, so these are the kind of nudges that we work on. And as far as I remember, there is one more that we worked, and it came out successfully, was utilizing these delivery nudges to basically reduce our NDR.
Okay.
So we moved in we moved in a lot of our COD customers to the prepaid share, so that we can ensure that our delivery rates are maintained upwards. So yeah, I think that these are the typical examples that we've played around with and have been successful. There are a few more that we are working on the search, because we work in Middle East, right? So Arabic is a consistent concern with many e-commerce implementations, because language is something that we don't understand. We can improvise search algorithms for English, but Arabic is something that is still work in progress. So that is a learning area that we are working on right now.
We at Netcore understands the best. I mean, we are omnipresent. We are there in Southeast Asia and Africa, so in Middle East, and we totally understand some of these challenges that we have faced as far as those implementation are concerned. So yeah, completely in sync with that. And otherwise, a lot of notes to take. Mithil, Pragyan, which you have spoken about the challenges that are there.
Yeah.
One thing I also wanted to know, especially Mithil, Eileen, since the brands you work with are pretty much, I guess, omnipresent, right? There is online and there is an offline presence as well. Like online, you could apply a lot of those growth levers because you have those controls at scale. Is there anything which is also there on the offline side of it, or maybe product-led growth is one part of it, but there is service-led growth as well, right? Which is the product of your offline way of how you handle how you handle customers and how you treat them. Is there some learning, some insights around that as well, which you would like to share? If anyone can start.
So with respect to retail stores, again, service plays a key. But the good thing is you have sales staff, scouting and helping customers with their purchases, and it is not AI driven or machine learning driven. So they can identify what is it the customers are actually looking for. The other thing is now the markets have become very competitive, and there is you cannot really not fight on the price. So that is why what becomes key is your product in terms of quality, craftsmanship. When talking about home interiors, craftsmanship is one of the key things that sells the product. You can keep shouting that the product is at 60, 70, 80% off, but then if the product is not relevant or acceptable in terms of standards, then it would never sell. So I think service plays a key here. But yes, when you migrate everything to your online or e-commerce platforms, you have data to back your findings and your approach towards customers.
Yes, Aline, what's your thought on that? Hello, Aline, can you hear us?
So sorry, I'm having challenges unmuting. I think repeat the question. Sorry.
Yeah, it was majorly around how while on the product-led growth, the experience majorly on the digital side of it, the kind of implementation and a lot of ideas were shared. We were just wanting to discuss on the offline side of it, right? Where it's more driven by services. What are the growth levers that you would adopt there?
Well, in terms of services, I think what we've come to learn is being customer centric is key in terms of service. So what we have been checking is as far as product-led growth, what are these services that we can embed on the product that are a value key add in terms of bundling? So we have decided that we have actually centralized making excellence one of the key factors. And what that has meant is even once we do a survey in various cohorts of customers who are impacted by service, we have seen that just shoot up in terms of uptake, in terms of usage, in terms of resolution. So I would say service is a very key thing. It's a very key thing, just to add to Mithil's insights.
Yeah, that makes sense, Aline. I think a lot of our digital implementation also leads to how the relationship manager who meets the customer, how that can be optimized, and they are completely filled with a lot of insights when they speak to them. I can talk about few examples maybe later, but then we'll pick up one of the questions from the audience. It says, how have you handled data privacy and localization challenges? And anyone of you can pick up and maybe answer that.
Sure, Mayank. I'll take this. So yeah, data privacy and data governance is sort of becoming more and more comprehensive in the last few years. And I'm sure a lot of these people who are using iPhone may have noticed that now it has started asking customers opt-in whether they would like to be tracked or their activity would be like to, whether they're okay with the app tracking their cross app activity. Google also sort of came up that 2022 they will be abandoning the third-party cookies. So I think the way we're going to handle this data privacy concern is by focusing only on first-party data. Okay. And that becomes the core of your data science and marketing effort. Right. So what we've sort of there are tons of data points right on your e-commerce portal itself, and everything. If you just do temporal or proximal analysis, you can find out where the customers are spending the maximum time, how much time are they taking to check out. With respect to location, which are the pin codes or postal codes that are performing the best for you, what kind of products are they buying, how easy is it for customers to navigate the profile. You can do a simple heat map analysis to figure out if and do some splits to understand which landing page is performing the best for you. So these data points are really going to help marketers and product teams to create that wonderful product and experience, and that in itself would be would sort of be the torch bearer of the campaigns, because today if there is no data privacy, customers would never trust, which also brings me to an interesting point of having the CDP in place, because what CDP does is ties up the entire customer data and gives you a 360. Today you can probably not get capture data from third party sites, but the CDP will give you that customer 360. It will help create robust customer data profiles, provide hyper personalized offerings, and it also sort of unifies the data and helps delivery systems to stay engaged with the customers. So I think that's where this is going to be important, and totally respect the fact that data privacy and appreciate that data privacy has been taken so seriously in the last few years.
Yeah. In fact, with a lot of meetings which I interact, and the point which you mentioned on the first party data and how the third party data would be handled and how these companies are managing. This is where Netcore also deals in only first party data information, and a lot of those insights, those predictive segments comes out with the utilization of that data. So definitely we are happy that even data privacy, we are very much in sync, and this is how it's going to be in sync with what some of these conglomerates are doing, operating systems are doing. Pragyan, before we end our discussion today, what are your thoughts on the same lines, on the same question? Because Mithil also happened to mention about the iPhone or iOS coming up with this function, and how has that impacted in one of the data points getting getting shortened or reduced for you as far as your data analytics and a lot of insights that you capture?
No, it did have an impact. In fact, when Apple announced it in the last WWDC, we actually started acting on it early this year. So the data gathering that we were earlier doing from our social channels, we kind of figured out that it's not going to stay for long, right? So, and we were also parallelly building our own data sources. So, as rightly said, now it's time that we rely more on the first party. We have a lot of customer data at our disposal first to analyze and segment them, right? So, instead of waiting on the social channels to give us a customer profile, what we have started doing is we have started creating personas internally. So it's mostly the first hand data that we have, whether it's the customer's own attributes or the sales attributes or the products that they are liking. I think we have started to clustering this information now and then drive a strategy rather than depend. In fact, we've lost a lot of insights that were earlier coming in, but I think that's an opportunity for us to build this and fill this gap internally within the team. So it's going to be a learning for every retailer, I believe, who was so far dependent on social channels.
Exactly. I mean, totally agree to that. I mean, I think it again relates to a lot of meetings that I've had.
Yeah.
So interesting, guys. So I think it was an interesting fireside chat with all three of you. A lot of understanding, learnings. I think uh, I have my notes ready with what you all three of us has shared as ideas and thoughts and all. Uh, Before we end our discussion, our last poll for our audience, just to get a heads up, how do they rate our webinar? Did they find it engaging, insightful, or what's their take on it? A quick polling we will have around that, and then we can end our discussion today. So all in all, I think I'm very happy to host you guys today. Mithil, Aline, Pragyan, thank you so much for being on the call today and spending something and then sharing something which was highly fruitful. Thank you so much for the time today.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, guys, for having me.
It's a pleasure.
All right, thank you, and thanks. I'll thank the audience as well for being so patient and sharing a lot of these ideas.
I'd like to see the last poll results.
Yeah, should I share?
Yes. Want to see how many fell asleep? 100. Great.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.